Hi, I'm Tim of the WatchBox, and I am joined by an absolute legend, a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. Philippe Dufour graduated from the Horological School of the Vallée du Joux back in 1967. His career has spanned Jaeger-LeCoultre, Audemars Piguet, Gerald Genta, and of course his own eponymous brand, a giant of the craft. Mr. Dufour, welcome to the show, and thank you.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for the invitation. Yes.
Now, you've had an incredible journey from the first watch that you built wholly by yourself, the Audemars Piguet Grand Sonnerie pocket watch, to the Grand Sonnerie wristwatch of '92, the duality of '96, and the simplicity of 2000. How has your philosophy of watchmaking changed as you've transitioned from the very complicated to the very simple?
Yeah, okay. First, why I made my first complicated watch? In the end of 70s, 80s, I spent 5 years restoring watches for auction, okay? Auction people, mostly pocket watches, complicated pocket watches. I didn't make any money, I made a living, I could raise my three daughters, so it was okay. But I learned a lot by seeing what the old people did and try to imagine how they did it, with which tools, which equipment, you know. And on 10 watches I had for restoration, pocket watches, complicated. On 10, 7 were basically made in the Vallée du Joux. Vallée du Joux was specialized to make the what we call the blank. A blank, it's a movement made 80%, okay? And they used to sell the blank to all the big brands. If you take the Patek, the Vacheron, minute repeater pocket watches, for example, the base was Vallée du Joux. If you take the German, also Lange-Söhne, Grossmann, Assmann, the base Vallée du Joux. And the English, exactly the same. If you take an old Smith minute repeater, Dent, or I don't remember anymore the brand. The base came from the Vallée du Joux. That's why we say Vallée du Joux is a cradle of complicated watches. Okay. Now, by seeing all that, I say one day I have to do it again. They did it, and try to do it. And with some old tooling, 1900, I bought different places. I try to imagine how they work. And with all these tools, I made my first movement. I still have it in my workshop, okay? It's a 19 line, that means pocket size, Grand Sonnerie minute repeater. With that, I went around the Switzerland collectors specialized shop, you know. Everybody say, yes, nice, carry on, but nobody trusts me. Nobody knew me at that time. And they always say, why don't you work with a brand? I propose that to EP, and they order me 5 watches. It's not many watches, but in terms of work, it's a lot. Okay, it's about 5 years' work. It took me about 2,000 hours to make a watch like that. But to work for the other is not easy for your ego, you know, because I was not allowed to say I made it, okay? And on top of that, on 5 watches, they broke 2 in the factory. You know, they treat my work as potatoes. One day I say no more for the other. I'm going to try again, something. And I said, now this time I go on a wristwatch, because the market is a bit more easy than pocket watches. And I check on the market, there was some tourbillons started, we are in the end of the 80s, huh? Some tourbillons, some perpetual calendar. And I said, okay, I make a perpetual calendar, and what? It's just another one. I have to make something special. And I checked, the Grand Sonnerie minute repeater wristwatch was never made. I said, okay, I'm going to try to do it. So it took me 2 years and a half to make, and I use the CAD system to make the drawing, because I said, if I make a wristwatch, the job, I have to repeat the job. So I need some accurate information. For the pocket watch, I don't have any drawing. I just have some sketches, that's it. But for the wristwatch, I have all the drawing. It's all you know, the measurement and everything. It's how I started. Why I made the Grand Sonnerie is because to be maybe recognized. That was the whole idea, you know. And then I made 4, 5 of them, And then the market, the Asian market, asked me, could you do something more simple? Again, I checked the market. Tourbillon coming, you know. It was in 1994, 95. And I said, okay, I don't want to make a tourbillon because I'm not very keen for the tourbillon, honestly. For a wristwatch, you don't need a tourbillon. You are the tourbillon, okay? Because the tourbillon basically is made by...
So many different positions.
Yes, it's made by Breguet. By Breguet with pocket watch, always standing at the same place, and it compensates very, very easy. This we can understand, but on watch, wristwatch, you don't need it. And I always say how many tourbillon are sold with a Cosque. Okay, you have the answer. Okay, now that was 96. I launched the Dualité. Dualité, I saw on an old museum book. It was a Rockford Time Museum in the States. They're all technical watches, and on that book it was a watch made in the watchmaking school from Le Sentier with two balances in the 30s. And I saw that, I said, wow, that could be an idea. Not to beyond, but something like that, you know. And I try to understand how it works. It was not easy how the differential work, okay? And I made the first prototype so I discover the effect of one balance to the other and how it works, in fact. And then I reduce the size, everything, and I make a 34 millimeter wristwatch. It was the first Dualité in 96. I was planning to make 25 watches. Why? I don't know. I said, okay, I'm going to make 25. And I sold 9, and it was no more order, no more interest, so I stopped making it, you know. And then the Simplicité came in 2000, and it's funny because it's a friend of mine, Antoine Presozio from Geneva. At that time, he was working quite well with the Japanese market. And one day he told me, why don't you make a watch for the Japanese people? I said, why? He told me, you know, you're well known in Japan. It's a Dufour fan club in Tokyo. I told him, come on, I don't believe you. He said, it's true, because the Japanese, they have knowledge, they want to understand everything. But I told him, I never sold a watch in Japan. He said, no, there's no problem. And I said, okay, I'm going to make a simple watch. It was two-way, okay? It was like everybody's way. That means you pick up your phone, you call a movement maker, they make it for you, engrave your name, you give somebody else to put the dial, hands, casing, everything, and you put the watches in the boxes and you make the invoices, okay? It was one way. With that way, probably you can make money, easy money, fast, but not for long term, okay? So I said, no, this is not my way. I don't want to destroy what I try to build. I trace a line, and I have to follow that line. I said, okay, I'm going to draw a new caliber, the Simplicité movement. It's what I did. And I launched it in the year 2000. It was a bit selfish because I made a watch to please myself, you know, with some references I had from watches from the 50s, the 60s, 70s, you know. And I took a bit of everything from this period to make the Simplicité, okay? And I launched it in year 2000 in Basel, and very fast the interest was great from the Japanese market. And I found retailers who has exclusivity in Tokyo, and they did a marvelous job because on 200 watches they sold 120 in Japan. It's how I started.
So it's accurate to say that Japan was really the birth of the Simplicité.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now beyond, I guess the last of the Simplicité models were produced maybe 2013, 2014.
Yeah, I still produce some.
Oh, still available.
Because it has never been a limited edition, you know. Probably today I made altogether 210 or 12 or something like that, yes.
Now, your future ambitions, because your career has spanned decades and different idioms, different brands, styles, and complications. When you look towards the future, how do you define your future goals given all that you've already accomplished? What does the future hold?
What you mean for
For yourself as a watchmaker?
Well, watchmaker, my future, unfortunately, I would love to have 30 years old now, but I'm not. But the idea, I think I'm lucky because I'm remarried and we have a daughter. Let's make my fourth daughter. Okay, she's 18 years, and since the age of 13, I asked her what she wanted to do, you know, to carry the study, and she said, no, I want to learn watchmaker. And I said, come on, it's not for you, it's an old profession, forget it, okay? And during 2 years we were fighting because I wanted to push her to see if she really wanted that, you know? And finally, she started at the watchmaking school, the same school as I did, and now she's in the third year. So in 1 year, probably she's coming with me and try to carry what I've started. That's the whole idea.
So that's quite literally the future.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
Now let me ask a question about the influence of technology you've used. You mentioned you use computer-assisted modeling, CAD.
Yes, yes.
But all of your component fabrication and finishing is manual. Where do you draw the line? How much technology is too much technology? I don't think you would use silicon. I don't think you would use plastics.
No. You know, silicon for me, it's like that, okay? If somebody can prove me silicon is better than steel escape wheel, okay, I will do it. But nobody prove it. I know by experience, 150 years old watches, you know, when I used to restore this type of watches, the escape wheel made out of steel was never worn. That I know. Okay, if you can prove me a new material can do the same way, I will accept.
I see where you're coming from. It's a combination of the performance of the part, but also the ability to repair the part in the future.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, if you make a part in a classical material, you can always repair it, but not with some modern technology. When it's gone, you know. So I don't say the big brand they have to do that, you know, but very often it's a marketing purpose, you know. You make a world premiere, okay, with a 10 years old movement with a new silicon escape wheel. You make a world premiere. It's a bit short, I would say.
So let me ask you a question about your extended practice now. Obviously, your daughter Magali, I believe, is joining you.
Yeah, Magali is my first daughter.
Oh,
you know? Yeah, she worked 4 years with me, and she wanted to do something different. She was not really happy. I told her I cannot chain you in the workshop, you know. Do what you want, and she went. She worked with Philippe now.
So you've had some family, some assistants, some other watchmakers and finishers. It seems like at times it's been just you working alone, and at times you've had a small amount of family and assistants. How do you find that balance? How do you, I guess, resist the temptation to grow the workshop? Because it always seems like it comes back to a small circle for you.
You know, if I make a statement today, I would say some positive, some negative. The positive is that commercially it's no problem, you know. I never spend any money in publicity or marketing, but my watches are known around the world. I have so many orders I cannot follow, you know. This is a very positive. But in the negative, it's that since many years I tried to build a team, and I failed. Okay? Why? It's because well, the level is high. I always say to my watchmaker, you know, the level is here. If you are here, it's okay. If you are here, it's not enough. You know, and with the young generation, they, how to say, they cannot guarantee the, how to say, they cannot have a self-control to say, yes, this time it's okay. Now they come to you and say, can you check if it is okay? Then now it's not okay. And I look and say, no, here, a lot of scratches, just do it again. Okay, you go and you back and go, you lose your time. And I get nervous because when I have somebody doing the job three times longer, it's boring, you know. And also at the end, you say, I had this watchmaker for 1 year. What has he done? How much it cost me? And you lose money. The purpose is not to make money on somebody else's shoulder, no, but at least to break even, you know. And I'm very disappointed about the young generation. But I would say 2 watchmakers I had. One now is in charge of teaching at Jägerkult, okay? At least what he learned is not lost. And other one is a professor at the watchmaking school. So,
not a bad count of alumni.
Exactly, yeah.
So let me ask you a question about the younger generation, because I know you've been critical about standards and you hold them to a very high level, your own. Are there any young watchmakers in the Vallée du Jeu or beyond who have impressed you, people who have caught your eye, who maybe someday masters at the level you expect?
We have some young one, not, I would say not enough, but we have like David Kando is doing a good job, using also modern technology, but the product is very interesting. Or Romain Gauthier also, but Romain Gauthier started small, but now it's maybe 20 people or 25 people, you know. It's a big structure now. And yeah, we have some young watchmaker like Julien Tixier. Now he's opening a shop in Vallée des Jeux. He's doing also things, building, inventing different things. Yeah, but I always say it's not enough. You know, if I compare, if we take the academy of the AHCI, you know, who have more foreign a new watchmaker than the Swiss, you know, we have now three or four. Very soon, Japanese watchmaker doing marvelous things, Chinese watchmaker, Russian watchmaker, you know, but very few Swiss. Yeah.
Have you ever considered, given all your knowledge and your experience, have you ever considered becoming a teacher of watchmaking at the very school where you once studied, the École
Horlogerie? Yeah, you know, I was not in very good terms with the school because, you know, my problem is sometimes I say what I think, you know, and it doesn't always please people. But I'm a free man, old enough to say what I'm thinking. And yeah, one day, it was an interview for a Swiss magazine regarding the loft of the know-how, okay? And they interviewed different people, like Mr. Simonin from the West Lab, different people. And they took some of my sentences, and I said, I don't understand why, for example, in the watchmaking school, we don't teach anymore the way to finish, to have a nice finish on a watch movement, you know? The beveling, the Geneva waves, and all that, you know? My sentences have been published, and 4 months later, I had some visitors. I wanted to visit the school and arrange a meeting. And the director of the school called me back and he said, yeah, you're 2 German watchmakers, they can visit, but I don't allow you to come to the school. I said, what's the reason? After what you said, what did I say? You don't want us to teach the children, the young watchmaker, how to finish, to make a Geneva waves. In fact, women are doing that. I said, you are completely out of the subject because it's only way we have, the only thing we have, the finishing and the hand finishing. No, I was completely wrong. That's why now it's better. They changed the director, but still, the school, the purpose of the school. I mean, the target of the school is to teach watchmaker for the use of the factory. And what do they know? What do they need? It's operator, okay? And I see some young watchmakers, they spend 4 years study and they are not happy at work because they told me, I'm here since 2 years, I put dial in hands. And beside me, I have a young girl, she's doing the same job as me. She never learned anything. But the guy went 4 years to do that, you know. So it's a lack of respect, I would say, in the factory. The guy who spent four years to study, he has to be considered differently, I would say.
Now, it's fascinating to note that you came from restoration early on.
Yeah.
Many of the great watchmakers of our time have. Michel Parmigiani, F. Pigeon,
Exactly.
yourself. Also, just the knowledge learned from reconstructing an old watch imparts a different kind of understanding, perhaps, than a school.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that you must conduct restoration in order to become a master? Does that need to be part of your education?
Yeah, I think because in the school we don't know. They don't do anymore. They still, like in watchmaking school in Le Sentier, they still make a school watch. But I would say most of the parts are already done. Okay, it's just a question of beveling or things like that, you know. When I used to make my school watch, we used to sew, you know, the bridges and then to file and everything. And little, it's less and less, you know. And this experience, you can get it from a restoration. And sometimes I'm some young visitor, young student from the school, watchmaking school, they come to me and I always tell them, go to the free market, buy a 100-franc watch, you know, old silver, cylindric escapement, something like that. You buy it and you're disassemble, it's absolutely broken, you try to do it again and try to imagine how they did it 100 years ago and so on. It's a good start, a good experience.
Now, it's interesting that one of your peers in the industry, Peter Spiegmarin, who also conducted restoration,
yes.
He was once asked if he's a watch collector, and he said, I take more pleasure from being able to create a watch than from collecting them. But I know you have at least 2 modern watches in your collection. With the GMT, Master 2, and the Datograph from Alongo Unzona. What process goes through your head when you choose a watch, not as a watchmaker, but as a collector?
Well, you know, when I saw the Datograph the first time in the 90s, it was at Basel. And in the window, it was a scale 20 movement Datograph. And I saw that, I said, wow, look at that. And then I saw the watch in real. Oh, it was amazing. I say, the Germans are kicking us, okay? And I say, okay, now the Swiss were going to respond. I'm still waiting for the response, okay? Because it's just amazing, this chronograph, the way it's done, the way it works. You have a 3-dimension view. It's just. And one day I say, I'm not rich, but I say, I have to have one. You know? I went to a shop, and yes, and I ordered one. I couldn't afford the platinum. It was a basic model. Platinum was too. So I took the pink gold with black down. And now people call it the Dufour, this model.
I call it the Dufour.
Yeah, you see. This one, my first new watch. And the last one is last year when I saw the Pepsi. I don't know why, but it's maybe an old kid dream. I don't know. And I saw that watch, I said, I must have one, you know. So again, I went to a shop because I don't like to, you know, to call people to try to have something. No, I go to the watchmaking shop and I order. As to me, it's a waiting list. I say, okay, put me on your waiting list. I don't know if they put my name, I don't know how, but at least 2 months later, they call me, your watch is here, you know. And it's just amazing. And, you know, Rolex, I admire Rolex because it's also advice I give to the young people. They ask me, I want to start collecting watches. What is your advice? Okay, I give two brands. I say, Rolex, it's a good money for value. Quality, you know, 5 years guarantee, accurate, cost, and all that, you know. You don't take any risk. At least you can maybe gain money if you have to sell it, okay? And the other one is not Swiss, sorry, but it's Nomos. because Nomos also it's very interesting brand, you know. They don't tell you blah blah blah, you know, it's homemade movement, it's done properly. They don't tell you it's done like 100 years ago. No, it's pure, functional, and the design is very very pleasant. The young generation they like this type of watches. So it's my two favorite. I give as advice, you know.
Well, thank you so much. Philippe Dufour, master watchmaker and a watch collector just like us. Mr. Dufour, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.